Hi there. Hi, Scott. Hi, everybody. My name is William. I am now in Shanghai, China. I am from Hong Kong, born in Beijing, and I wear two hats. One, I'm a theater director, and at the same time, a drama teacher. So my life has been dedicated to theater and education. Yoo-hoo!
Your energy is so infectious. Thank you so much, William. And this is going to be a great conversation. I can already tell you're just setting the tone. And yeah, like, to talk about theater with education, I think there's so many possibilities, endless possibilities that we can discuss. And I'm just curious to hear what led you to that, particular, passion of yours, right? This calling to really marry these two universes really of the arts with education. And it's just also wonderful to have yet another incredible and just just amazing classmate from our program. And yeah, very international that you're based in Shanghai, right? You go back and forth, and you go to Hong Kong as well. But I know that you seem to be traveling all the time, all around the region. So yeah, it's all in the service of students and education and bringing that passion for theater. So let's start with the first question, and this is about your professional background. This is about what really motivates you and drives you to do the work that you do. And if you can maybe take us back to like the origin of kind of what were some of like the major influences on your life, and
Yeah.
a few different milestones that led
Mhm.
you ultimately to where you are today.
Yeah. Whew, I'll try to cut the long story short. I'll start with my first undergraduate degree. Actually, I didn't do theater to start with. I was in dentistry. So I was actually doing my medical degree in dentistry, but I didn't finish it. I quit from Hong Kong University. Sorry. When I was in the second year because I don't feel like I find this future career my life passion. And my life passion is definitely with theater. But of course, my parents will be like, no, you can't do this. You're not handsome enough. You're not tall enough. Who do you think you are? Want to go to a theater? Do you want to be a celebrity? Do you want to be an actor or whatever? That's not possible. But I was like, no, I want to do this. I have already quit it. So, period. I'm going to a drama school instead of a dental school. So that brought me into theater world. And then um, through some, I was trained to be a theater director as a profession. But then later, I found out that actually I could share with young people and children the passion of my life, theater. And it brought so much joy to them. It brought so much ideas to them. And I love the way that I work with young people. And I was like, maybe I'm right for this. It's not that I picked to be a teacher, but it's more like the children picked me to be their friends. So then I started to be teaching actually since 1997, 98. So I've been doing this for like 25, 26 years, and I'm still doing it, and I love doing it. And through the past like 2 decades of work, I got the chance to explore like all sorts of possibilities. What theater can do for young people, what theater can do for families, what theater can do for people with different abilities. So it's like there's so much works that we can do through arts, through theater. So yeah, that's pretty much like a very short version of a very long story.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, William. And I didn't know that about you. Initially, you were going to be a dentist and decided,
Yeah, a rich dentist.
well, at the same time, you have such like a brilliant smile. It wouldn't surprise me that initially you wanted to, have other people have brilliant smiles just like you. But you pivoted and decided to go to drama school instead, against, the recommendations, the wishes of your parents. So you felt this strong conviction that it had to be this way. And I'm sure that was a difficult decision, but in hindsight, look how happy you are and the impact that you make. It's incredible. We'll talk more about that. But I'm curious to know, where were like these seeds planted in your life for to then
Mm.
suddenly sprout after the second year or during the second year of your first undergrad in dentistry? Like where did this passion for drama come from? It couldn't have just been from out of nowhere, right? And maybe it was well before undergrad. Could you maybe explain a little bit more about where this passion kind of came from?
Of course. It was like way back. I was picked to actually, I started in dance when I was in primary school, being like the only two boys in a bunch of girls. So I was picked by my teacher to be joining the dance troupe. But later, when I was in grade 4 or 5-ish, I was picked by, again, teachers to join the drama performances. So that planted kind of like a tiny seed in my heart, in my brain, be like, wow, I love being on stage. I love being actually now if I look back, I don't really enjoy being on the stage, but I enjoyed the process of working with people. That brings me so much friendship, so much joy, so much warmth, so much love, by working with people. And then when I got into middle school, we get a choice of like different like after school programs. We call it extracurricular activities. And then the first thing first, I went to drama club and I was like, oh, I want to join this. So that was my choice to be part of theater for the first time when I was like 12, 13-year old in middle school. So then starting from there, we have a very like empowering drama club because the teacher who was in charge of the drama club was kind of like she knows how to motivate people. She knows how to bring out this, we call it, internal motivation, self-efficacy. So she gave us so much space to explore what we want to do, what we want to explore in the club. So yeah, so that we had 7 years in middle school and high school. So throughout those 7 years, I got to be more and more engaged and more involved in this drama club. And then I even went to Baptist University when I was in first year in high school to take some courses from a university course, after, what we call it the external program of Baptist University in Hong Kong, to try to know more about drama, to know more about acting, directing. So talking about learning, I was totally motivated to learn, way beyond what I should have been, should be learning at that time when I was young, like 14, 15, 16-year old. So yeah, so that planted seeds in me that I feel like I really enjoy. I want to be in theater. Theater is my passion. So later, as I said, I quit from dentistry and went into drama school.
Yeah, thank you for sharing a little bit more about what the origin story of drama was for you and theater. And yeah, it doesn't seem like so much of a coincidence now. It does feel like, no, these seeds were planted long ago.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the part where you talked about how um, it's the process of working
Mm.
with others and kind of co-creating um, a piece, right? And exploring new realms and different ideas and seeing what emerges. It's not about the limelight.
No.
And I want to maybe focus a little bit on this teacher in the drama club, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Because you said that one of the wonderful ways in which she helped build this internal motivation, as you said, was to
Mm.
give students as much space as they needed to explore pretty much anything, right? And so maybe if you can speak a little bit more about this teacher, kind of what
Yeah.
qualities really drew you to her,
Yeah.
and are those similar qualities that you now feel like you really, wish to, convey to your own students?
Yeah. I think, well, her name is Ada, Mrs. Ada Fong. Um, she just never taught me in school, you know, she was an English teacher. She never taught me English, but she became like my life mentor for a very long time. And actually, I told her like she was the first person who knew that I quit dentistry and I am going to drama school. And she cried so badly for that. And I was like, why are you crying? And she was like, because it was probably me that totally ruined your life. And I was like, no, this is something that I want to do. But later I went back to my middle school and high school to help with the school musicals and stuff. And I worked with her on different projects, and I'm quite happy that she's happy for me now. But anyway, so I think the way that she worked with us, it's the way that I want to work with my students now. I don't treat myself as teacher. I'm not like the power. I'm not the authority. I'm more like a facilitator. I'm more like housekeeper. Try to put things together for the students and pave the way for them and try to guide them a little bit when they feel frustrated or when they kind of like are lost in the mists, and they need some guidance, need some guiding light. So I think the way that she worked became my model of working now. And when I look back, I start to play some like film in my head, moments when she was like sitting beside me, trying to calm me down when I was having a fight with my fellows and trying to fight against some ideas, and how she tried to help me out with these things, as a young person at that time. So it's never about just drama. It's about human. It's about making connection with your students. It's about the extra things that brought us. And those were the moments that will stay, will linger for much longer time. Even now, that was like what, 30 something years ago. But those memory were still like fresh in me. So I think that's the impact. That's the authentic impact of what a teacher could be or should be.
Not just the teacher title, but as a facilitator and as a friend, as a mentor, right? There's so much more that goes to that kind of label that we tend to attach to the human, right? That she had her own concerns, she had her own struggles, but she also brought this passion of the arts and made it clear that it was important. Albeit she was also an English teacher, so she probably had a lot of stuff going on, and yet she made it work. So when you shared this kind of I just thought this anecdote was so so funny and very telling, I think, of the culture. But she was one of the first to know about your decision
Yeah.
to stop with dentistry, and she said, "Oh no, I've
I
it's
ruined your
because of me." That is so funny. That could definitely be in a movie, when your
Oh.
movie is on the big screen and it's just a memoir of some sort, like that'll be hilarious scene.
Oh.
But I think it's not too different. I'm just going out on a ledge to compare it with how a drama teacher in the US might respond as well. Hearing the
Mm,
news that, oh, you were going to medical school, it's prestigious, right? Good pay, job stability, and security. And now you're going to take a risk. That's kind of how it's often seen, the arts. Despite the tradition of, there's Broadway, right? And there's all these like spectacular musicals, and it's a hub of where a lot of like, these performances of like, theater come out of. Not the only place, but it's a thing. But like in the
mm,
case of where you grew up in Hong Kong, right? Um how- yeah, I'm just curious, like how like what was the scene for theater? Like how is it
mm,
perceived? I mean, it's
mm.
wonderful that you had these options in primary school to be exposed to the arts and to then find a drama club. Would you say that's the norm for a lot of places?
That's mm, well, at my time, it was definitely like a very niche thing. It was not a common thing for people to do theater, and to be so committed to theater. We do have my mother's school, my alma mater, the Hong Kong Academy for Performing Arts. It's a really good school. It ranked first in Asia. It's a great school. But every year we have like maybe a couple hundred people applying for the drama program, and that's it, comparing to a lot of US universities or universities in China, it's like nothing. But, you know, that's it's developing, because the arts and cultural scene in Hong Kong has been developing quite a bit for the past 10, 15, 20 years, especially now with this West Kowloon Cultural District, which is like a huge thing in Hong Kong. It might not be, that famous for the global audience, but it's like a huge land. Used to be like empty, and now we're building like 10, 8, I don't remember number, like new theaters and concert halls and a space for traditional Chinese opera. So it's kind of like a new district for arts. So it's definitely much better seen now. But arts has always been like a very niche thing. So it's not a common thing, because we don't have this sort of stability. We don't have this sort of, um, yeah, as unless you are like a celebrity, you might earn a lot, you might be known by a lot of people, but that's like a tip of an iceberg thing. So a lot of people are like hidden under the water, working very hard every day, trying to get the role, trying to work on the new productions and stuff like that. So it was definitely a risk. And even now, if a student is telling me, hey, William, I'm going for drama school. And it's like, whoa, really? You probably want to think twice before you make that decision. It's still like my response will be like that too. So, risk taking is never easy, but going out of the comfort zone, try to do something, that is my passion, your passion, our passion would just bring us more happiness, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I appreciate you unpacking the kind of the landscape, in Hong Kong a little bit more. And it is wonderful to hear that there are these signs of this kind of, resurgence of interest and investment in actual spaces, theater spaces. And I think that's going to be very helpful in addition to
Mm,
you're at now. What would
mm,
you say is like the kind of like biggest aha moment for you in terms of like the person you have become as a result of your art? It's a big
mm,
question. So
mm.
anything you would like to share regarding that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, first, I'll start to say my Chinese name. I'll say in Chinese twice. Once is in Mandarin. It's Ye Xun Qian, and twice I'll say in Cantonese Yip Sun Him. And then we have three letters, and then the second and third letter was given name by my parents. Xun Qian or Sun Him. It means humility. It means being humble. So I was like given by my grandpa. You got to be humble. So I do think I'm humble enough to call myself humble now. But actually theater changed me completely at the age of 17. Before that, I was in drama club. I was leading drama club. I was doing a lot of great stuff, when I was in middle school and high school. And I was directing the first school musical for my school, and I actually initiated it. I had this passion for it, but passion sometimes could brings arrogance. And I have to say, I used to be a very arrogant, and I used to be a very what do you call it, like a very, what do you call it, like a retempered person. I got angry, I got emotional like very easily. That sort of, and as an artist, you can feel it. But I was like arrogant, and I was really like agitated easily. And so I when I directed that school musical, at the age of 16, 17, when I was in the second year in high school, I was like causing a scene in the school. I was like yelling at people. I was like even yelling at my teachers. I was fighting with my head, with my principal, and I was like storming into her office and be like, "We need money." So that was the scene. But then what? I had this performance. It was okay, as a first time director, as a young person, it was fine. But then we had this curtain call, we have this bows, so we first have all the chorus, and then we have all the main actors, and then we have the lead, and then they were like, okay, let's welcome our director, William. Then I went on a stage, and guess what? I had a boo from the whole school. And I was like, yeah, everybody was like, boo. And I was like, that was like the devastating moment in my life. I was like broken into pieces. I was like, whew. But as a young person, as a 16, 17-year-old boy, I was like, I took the microphone. I was like, you don't understand all the sweat behind the work. Bam. And I know, just throw away the mic, and I just turn around and I just storm off the stage. But I was hurt. I was like having this hard time. I I don't remember if I cried or not. I probably didn't. But that was like the moment to get me to rethink, who I am. Why am I getting all these from the whole school pretty much? So it took the whole school to teach me a lesson of I need to change. And I changed. I changed completely from then. Especially when I get into Hong Kong University for the first year, I suddenly feel like, whew, I get a chance to restart. It's like a restart button because I was the only person from my high school going into that program. So nobody knows me. I can rebuild my character. I can redo who I am. So I then this name, Xun Qian, humility, just be like, huh, probably I got this name for a reason. Then that aha moment, I was like, I have had this name for 17, 18 years. And I didn't think about that, so then that moment, that devastating booing bow, curtain call moment, change my personality, change the way that I work with people, change the way that I look at myself, look at people around me, look at the world in a very different way. So I thank the whole school. I thank that moment, for teaching me a lesson. I just cannot be like that. It's a teamwork. It's not a person's passion. It's a team's passion to make things work. So yeah. Hmm. That's it. I'm digesting it now again.
Oh, I'm so glad that, you took us back to those times because I mean, that's just wow. Again, an excellent scene in the movie of your life. And looking back, I see the drama. I see the sweat down your forehead, the anger boiling within you, the indignation of grabbing the microphone and telling them off, but then realizing how broken you were. But that in many ways that had to happen. I think what shocks me the most is the fact that this was foretold in your Chinese name, and it's so profound. Who was this grandfather of yours to choose it? He had some incredible foresight. He was like, hey, I just know that one of these grandchildren, they're gonna need
Yeah,
humility. Okay, it's
he
William.
needs this.
It's William. He's the intuition is on point. And to be able to learn a lesson like that in that kind of way at such a young age, right? You said you were a 16, 17-year-old boy. I mean, I'm sure that you have been able to like as you rebuilt yourself, as you decided the path that you would go down, um, you and maybe in a subconscious way swore that it would not be like that, right?
Mm,
That
mm,
there's a way to have the joy of theater be shared, and that collective joy is, you know, multitudes better than anything that you could have individually experienced yourself. And that's the work that you're doing right now, right? I mean, it's that one story is so profound. And and so then it gets me thinking about, again, going back to that other wonderful story you told about your teacher being devastated that you decided to become to go, to go into drama school. I noticed that, and again, maybe this is cultural, maybe it's the same again, for your experience as well. But in the US, if you say that you want to go into the arts, people will say, oh, that's a risk, and they'll kind of be like,
yeah.
good luck. That's tough.
Yeah.
The only other profession that would get a similar reaction would be if you want to become a teacher. They'll say, oh, that's yeah,
Good.
that's kind of bottom of the barrel, like, are you sure you want to subject yourself to that? Are you sure you're going to be able to make enough? to pay rent or to be able to do the things you want. You seem like a really bright person. Why don't you do something that makes more money, right? Or these other values that we put out there. And in a swift decision, not maybe not a swift decision, but in your decision, you managed to kind of like set yourself on the path of both of those in education as a teacher and as art. So you took the double role of really trying to like pioneer how to bring this and like bring this value of like why these two are important to the people in China. And there's a lot of people in China, and so you're doing such important work. I wanted to hear a little bit more about some of like your more recent projects and yeah, and like how has that experience been like for you, as a more wiser and a more humble person that you are.
Yeah. I think yeah, let's jump to now. I think the change from then to now, it's amazing. I couldn't imagine if I was an arrogant person, I would be given this much opportunity to serve or to be engaged in different projects that I have been doing in the past and I'm doing now in my current role. So I think personality, character, is something define, how far you can go and how much you can do, we can do. So I'm not saying that we have to be super duper humble, but humility and determination. If we do have a good balance, that is the best thing, especially in the career in the industry of arts and education. I love sharing the diagram, the photo of my record of flying, in the past year. After pandemic, after the downtime, no one is flying, is allowed to fly, and in 2023, I've been flying like crazy, to different cities, different village schools and different big cities, to do teachers training, to do students workshops, and to give talks and seminars in different places. I feel like the thing that I'm doing now is being needed. That is important. If the things that we are doing now is just, it's just so tiny that we can just do it at home, we won't be that motivated. We want to be valued for the things that we're doing. And the more we feel about the value, the more motivated and the more hardworking and the more, you know, um, time and effort that we will be putting into it. One of the things that I'm doing, which is about training village school teachers to make use of drama pedagogy in their language classrooms. So theater, to me, theater is just it's definitely beyond the stage. I still do theater performances, but it's not just on the stage. It's in the classroom. It's in everyday classroom, everyday learning and teaching, because in China, a lot of teachers are quite rigid and they are like more of like a authority, the power character, the authority type of role in the classroom. So it's more of like I am teaching, I am just giving you the knowledge. I am telling you, what you should learn and what you should memorize and what you should be writing. But things are changing and the world is changing with the new technology and creativity and communication skills are more valued in the new curriculum in China as well. So that gives a really good opportunity for us to, as art related educator, to step in to the system and try to change the way of teaching. I've been doing this back in Hong Kong, like 10, 15 years ago, starting to do some teacher training, and now I'm doing a lot in China. So I think that brings a really good combination of what arts can do for education, you know. So I think that's something that I am doing. And also I'm now like you. I'm doing a podcast. I've just launched the first episode. I'm like definitely novice. I'm new to this, but I think it's a joy. It's I'm very proud to look at how much I fly in a year, but I just feel like how much more I can fly. I I just cannot, I cannot reach like all these people that I want to reach. So maybe podcast or something online would be more efficient, and we can bring our voice to more people. Without podcast, without you, my voice won't be heard by the audience that are listening to this or watching to this now. So I want to do the same thing. So I started a new education podcast. Hopefully we through each episode we can bring some new insights, new ideas to parents and teachers. It's in Chinese, so basically the target audience is in China. But I think parents and teachers in China needs to know more, all the possibilities. It's not that we're judging them or we're telling them that they're wrong, but we want them to see, that there are so much more different variations of what education could be like in the world. So maybe we would be able to bring some changes in classroom, changes in families, and to the end, some changes in the children's development life, from what, 4, 5 to 18 or even beyond.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so excited for this podcast, and I have absolutely no doubt
Hey.
that you will reach so many people, millions and millions and millions of people, who really, need this new perspective and this encouragement that there are alternatives, and not rather to call them alternatives, but really, they should be the norm, right? That they should allow for this kind of like free flow of thought, of excitement and curiosity, of really tapping into the vast reservoirs of knowledge they already possess, and focusing it in a way that really leads to their own sense of like protagonism, right? I'm choosing to create in this way, and I feel joy in engaging in this way. And that's I think the direction that education really needs to take, not just for China, but also in the US, and I would say all around the world. And then, again, we've been talking, you've been sharing really, this journey of yours from, your younger years as, like primary school, and, in adolescence, like being in the drama club, and then seeing where the seed of interest, I mean, like, of this joy of theater kind of emerged. And then throughout your, decades spanning of like reaching out to do teacher trainings, to like go and visit schools. And 2023 was, as you said, a high point, and just looking at this kind of world map of just how many times you flew around all over
Yeah.
the place. You can't even tell which lines match up to the other ones, because it's all blurred from like just yeah. But now this idea of the podcast is taking it to this next level. It's the next grand stage, if you will. And I think that it makes a lot of sense. And that's why I think it'll be so successful. And you're going into it with great humility, but also experience that this is, in your heart, this is right and this is good. And
Mm.
and and it's, yeah, of course, you want the biggest impact possible, but even just touching and resonating the life of one person is already a victory because that's what happened with you, right? Your life resonated with this so strongly. So I think that's one of the powers of education, of like, understanding that yes, we want as many people to, unlock themselves and how they
Mhm.
view themselves and how they go about in this process of learning. But it's so much more than that. But now I want to kind of ask a follow-up question to that, and this really gets at like the global citizenship piece of it. I feel like you have
Mhm.
already touched upon various key values of maybe humility, determination, perseverance, right? But is there anything in addition that you'd like to share and the work that you've done with theater, that you say you can kind of point to that this really ties in with your own conception of what it means to be a global citizen?
Yeah. My work actually allow me to be connected to the world. I've been flying to Denmark a lot in the past few years. Before pandemic, it was like 3 years in a row. I'm doing a lot of work, co-creation with Danish artists and Danish friends, because Hans Christian Andersen is like big, it's like huge, famous in China, and his stories. I hate calling it fairy tales because he never thought of his stories will be considered as fairy tales. So his stories has so much like life philosophy embedded in it. So we do a lot of works through his stories with Danish artists and with actually not just Denmark, but with different, international artists. I think through all these like international collaboration, I think one really important keyword is to listen, is to again be humble and listen. And we sometimes will feel like, it's interesting that you think of it in that way, that we never thought of it this way. So just like Hans Christian Andersen, the story itself, it was so much like we read it like for so many times when we were young. But when we work on it with this original place that he was born with Danish artists, Danish people, it brings so much different perspectives to the story, to the work that we are doing. If we are not listening, if we are not humble enough, we won't see all these possible perspectives. I think international collaboration or being a global citizen, I think bring each and every single one of us, different perspectives to look at the world and then to look at ourselves. Then we feel like we have so much more different possibilities. Why so serious? Sometimes it's like we feel, at least I feel more relaxed. I feel more chill. I don't feel like I have to do this, I have to do that, because it doesn't really matter. We have so much more different ways of doing things. Why so serious? Why so agitated? Why so frustrated for not being able to do it this way? Just wait a bit. You will be able to do this in maybe another way through another route. So that's sort of, and make us feeling more emotionally healthy. That's very personal. So I think that is something I would say being a global citizen, or have this global mindset um, has brought me, especially in recent years, with this heavy collaboration going on with um, Denmark and with a lot more like countries and cities in the world.
Thank you so much. And yeah, what a privilege as well, let me just say, to have these opportunities to just go to Denmark and be able to like learn from these incredible artists and to be able to come
Yeah.
back and share that and inspire others and yourself, of course, right? With this kind of, new learning, new perspective, as you said. And one thing that kind of came into my mind as you were talking about how these different perspectives allow us to look at the world differently, allow us to look at
Mm.
ourselves differently. And the whole creative process, maybe this is the artist's journey of just kind of following the almost like following the muse, right? You're just going
Yeah.
in different directions, and there's this word that comes into my head of like fluidity, of how you pay less attention to the destination itself and more on the process and how you're feeling through that
Journey.
process. And
Yeah.
I think that yeah, and I think that that really is important in cultivating this sense of like global citizenship and being okay that you don't have all the answers, and by connecting with others or having those kinds of collaborations with others and being humble and listening to others to discover new portals, right, into new
Mm.
universes, that it might seem like the long way of getting something done, but it also is probably the surest way, like the shortcut is not going to lead us anywhere, and we've done that. And so
Mm.
this does
Mm.
seem like, through the medium of art, it gives us that permission to take the long route because
Yeah.
that's the most scenic route.
More enjoyable route that we can, try to enjoy the process and not just jump to the conclusion too quickly. So that, that's why I think, all people should do some arts. It doesn't have to be theater. It can be dance, it can be music, it can be arts, visual arts, it can be installation, it can be movie, it can be photos, do
Podcast.
some art. Yeah, podcast.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All sorts of things, the creative ways of engaging, connecting with people and connecting with ourselves. Some art form is more personal, like, if you paint or if you do visual art or if you play music, it's more personal. But some art form like podcasting or video taking or doing theater or doing dance, it's more like a community thing. It's more like a group thing. So you know it depends whether we are extrovert or introvert, but sometimes we kind of like need a balance of being extrovertial sometimes and being introversial sometimes and strike a good balance. So we feel like we're content, we're happy, we are having this, you know, enjoyment of life.
Yeah, you're at peace, you're feeling whole, you're
Yeah.
through your humanity, there's this wholeness that, you're on the right path, you're you're happy with who you
Yes,
are and what you create. Um,
exactly.
it's crazy to say that in our society, it feels like that's a pretty high bar to reach
Mm.
because of how stifling oftentimes we feel with societal expectations, with harsh realities like finances and what have you. Um, but we have to get back to
Yeah.
to that deeper connection. And I think you've convinced me how important theater and just art more broadly speaking is to
Mm.
the ways in which we educate future generations. There's so much that education can learn from art and through art. And
Mm.
I think that even though you've had decades work at this, from just hearing you, it sounds like you're just getting started, like this is, you're at the launching point of a new exciting chapter. So,
Mm.
so yeah, I'm very excited for you and very honored that I could have this time to talk with you and learn from your journey. And
Thank
I have one last question. This one relates to any recommendations, be it music, oh, actually, I've never said music. Yeah, it could be music, or a
you.
book, or a movie, or a
Yeah.
play, but something that you feel like ties to our conversation and that you'd like to share or encourage those listening to look at.
Yes. Well, my recommendation has always, when I was asked to recommend a book or like an author, um, I would definitely recommend my idol, Sir Ken Robinson, who has so much impact on creative education. He passed away a few years ago, sadly, but if you searched him on TED, or you can find some of his books. One of the books that I love the most is called The Element, which it has a subtitle to it. It's like how passion changes everything. So, when I read his book, I found the answers to my life choices, a lot of my life choices when I was, at younger ages, like when I was like 16, 17, when I decided to do a school musical, I just when I decided to rebuild my character, I was, after I was devastated, I was like broken up into pieces. And then, my choice of, going into drama school instead of dentistry, and later why I'm not just being a theater director, why I spend so much time doing education, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I do recommend this book to everybody, and also to look at, if you don't have time to read the book, you may just go on TED and search the name Ken Robinson, and you will find, some of his really great speeches, really hilarious, funny, but inspiring speeches that he gave on TED.
That's a great recommendation. Thank you so much, William. I have heard of Sir
Yeah.
Ken Robinson. I've watched a few of
Mm.
his TED Talks, and he has an incredible sense of humor. Um,
Yeah.
it's not outlandish. It's very British of him, but it's appropriate and it's fitting, and it comes with a wealth of knowledge and experience. And yeah, and I appreciate you making that book recommendation. So, as we wrap up our conversation, I wanted to make sure that I give you the last word. If there's any final thoughts, anything at all you'd like to share, please, this is the time.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, Scott, you're doing an amazing thing. The podcast that you have been doing, before we had this conversation, we talked about your podcast and how persevere you are. You know, you are definitely the model, the idol that I am now have, because now I'm starting to do this podcast. I don't know how many episodes I can be doing it. So I think through our voice, hopefully we can spread ideas and bring inspiration to different people. So I do wish our audience, if you're still listening, leave us comments. I think this sort of interaction is important. So don't just listen to us, speak to us, talk to us, and we will, definitely be responding to and making some conversations going, instead of just, finished here. We could be carrying on with this conversation with a lot more people who are listening to this.